Hi there, students. To demarcate as a verb, demarcation as a noun. Okay, to demarcate means to define the limits of something. Notice the Americans actually also use the verb to demark, but I would say to demarcate. So, I don't know, along the road there are parking spaces demarcated. Okay, they're drawn out. The demarcation between the end of my house and the forest is marked by a line of stones. Okay, demarcation. Okay, this is particularly used for the borders between countries. When there's a dispute or a war, and then a treaty or a ceasefire is put together, then you have a demarcation line, the line between the two warring factions. Okay, but demarcation, the border between two things, or the rules that show the limits of something or how they are divided. In industrial relations, you could have a demarcation dispute, as in who is responsible for what, which job title is responsible for which obligation. Okay, on the map, the demarcation between the countries is shown by a red line. The demarcation between medicine and psychology is very diffuse. It's not very clear. So to demarcate, to establish boundaries or limits. Very often in a war, the UN demarcates the border between between two new countries, to delimit, to mark out, to separate, to determine, to fix the limits of. To separate or distinguish between unclear boundaries. So, in a good relationship, it is important to demarcate the responsibilities of each person within the relationship. Or as the Americans would say, to demark them. Okay, so a border demarcation or a demarcation line, a line of demarcation, the point where one changes from one to the other. Okay, so to set the boundaries of something, I would like you to demarcate the items that the company sells into different categories, to try and separate out categories so that we have different lines or rules to decide what goes where. Yes, the area available to each competitor is demarcated by a yellow line. In sumo, the demarcation of the edge of the playing ring is demarcated by a ring of salt. Okay, the individual properties are demarcated by fences. The government demarcated the city, or the council demarcated the city into 18 different geographical divisions or locations. Paris is demarcated into different arrondissements, different areas. Okay, so to put the boundaries of something. So yes, a demarcation line. There was a big fight between the two young brothers, and one of them painted a demarcation line down the middle of the room that they were sharing. Yeah, so you can't cross over the demarcation line, and that's the idea. Okay, so to demarcate, or as the Americans would say, to demark, a regular verb. He demarcated the difference between the two things. The border has been demarcated by the United Nations. Formality. To demarcate, demarcation. I think I'm going to give it a 7 in formality. I don't think I would use it in an informal conversation. You might just about use it in a semi-formal conversation. A great word to use in essays and things like that. And then as to origin, well, it actually comes from the Spanish phrase línea de demarcación, okay, a demarcation line. And or also in Portuguese, this actually came from the demarcation line that was set down by the Pope, marking which parts of Latin America belonged to Spain and which parts belonged to Portugal. Yeah, he drew lines on a map. The British demarcated the border between India and Pakistan. They also demarcated the border between Northern and Southern Ireland. Okay, so to demarcate, to set borders. I think you could, a demarcation, also maybe any strictly defined separation of two things. Yeah. So in our demarcation dispute, there was a demarcation between the different types of work done by members of different trade unions. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I guess this probably itself comes from Latin, from something like marcare, to mark. Yeah. Okay, so enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. To demarcate, demarcation.